So the same planner is not going to work for you your whole life. It's not the kind of thing that you figure out once and then you're set to go for the rest of your life. We need to adjust our planners as life changes. Hi, I'm Mystie Winckler, and you have found Simply Convivial, where we are wrapping up week 2 of our Organize October challenge. This week is all about your weekly planner, your weekly spread, what we call inside Convivial Circle, your weekly dashboard. Your dashboard gives you the view that you need to manage the details that you have in your life right now. And the details that you have to manage in life will change throughout your life. And so that means that your planner also needs to change. So let's talk about 3 different life stages and how your planner can adjust to fit your current season. Grab a basket of laundry to fold and let's dig in. I know that when you are shopping for planners, when you're browsing Etsy for templates, clicking through Amazon, looking at all of the pictures, maybe browsing tutorials on YouTube, or strolling through your favorite office supply store, you are looking for the one planner that will finally work for you, not just right now, but once and for all. You want to put in the effort for something that will last. And so often we think that the key piece to making our planner or system or whatever it is we're looking at stick is the material that we're using. But that's not really the way it works. Our planner will probably change throughout our life if we are using it effectively and making smart decisions as we iterate our current life needs, our current management needs, because different seasons of homemaking and mothering require different kinds of management. Different kinds of life management, like schedules and appointments, different kinds of home management, different kinds of people management are required in the young years, the main middle years, maybe with a few teenagers sprinkled in there, and then the empty nest season, which is somewhat similar to the before kids season. These different kinds of schedules and life responsibilities that we have will necessitate us using a different kind of plan to manage those details. So if you need to change your planner because what you used to use as a student, as a single working woman, or maybe when your kids were babies and now they're teens, it's not working. It's not you that's broken. It's that your life has changed and you need a planner that fits the current season that you're in. Nothing's wrong. This is a part of managing life, and the planner is just a tool. Sometimes you need a hammer and sometimes you need a screwdriver. There is no one-size-fits-all tool that is always the best thing to use in every situation. There's even different sizes of hammers and screwdrivers and all the things. So we aren't looking for the one perfect planner that's going to fix all our problems. What we want is to find a planner that helps us right now with our current details, keep up with those details and manage life. And then that habit of writing things down and using a planner will transfer to whatever other planner becomes more useful in different seasons. So you don't really ever start from scratch if you're changing planners. The magic isn't in the paper or the app. The magic, if you want to call it magic, is in you using a planner. So the more you have the habit of using a planner, the better you're going to be able to use any planner. So let's talk about the different kinds of needs of the different seasons, especially when it comes to a weekly view page. Even in these different seasons, I still think that having a weekly view where you keep the details that you need for the week in front of your face is key. So, in those seasons where your brain power is low, but your responsibilities are high, we're kind of starting right in the middle here in the intense mothering years. When you have a span of kids, they are always needing something from you and needing very different things often. Your teenagers need you to drive them places. Your younger kids need a lot of attention and direction and discipline. And sometimes you just feel like you have no brain power left to think, to decide, to make a plan. That's the stage where your dashboard is going to have the most pre-printed detail. This is the season where it really will pay off. Either going super low key and just keeping a spiral notebook and write down everything. Just write it down and you know where it is and you can look at it as you go. And so it's going to be messy. It's going to be full of all kinds of lists, but having it written down and having something that you're carrying around that you can refer to, no matter how messy, no matter how many different kinds of lists that are not connected except in your own brain, no matter how messy that gets or how unimpressive it feels, that is a key to helping you manage the details, to have a space where you can capture details on paper so that you're not keeping them in your head. And then you'll find you have more brain power if you're not trying to hold on to those ideas or thoughts or lists in your brain. You want to hold them on paper. The other option would be to take the time and make your own weekly dashboard page that you print out every week and write down those things that you don't want to repeatedly write all the time. Make a dinner plan that is basically the same every day of the week and then just pre-print it. Write down the kids' chores that you need to check on. Write down your basic school structure so you don't have to think about it. It's just right in front of your face. Again, it might not be the most beautiful planner. It will get messy if you're really using it. But whichever way, having a space where you can write all kinds of things down so that you don't have to be making as many decisions or thinking through all those details again and again will be a lifesaver. You want to free up your brain to have more space to pay attention to the children, to make important, critical decisions, especially when it comes to relationship issues with your children, education issues, training issues. You want your brain to be available for those things. And so you don't want to waste space or brain power on the details of life. But the details of life still need to be managed and tracked. So write them down. And then with your coffee or after putting the kids to bed, you just kind of page through and see what's there and take a deep breath and pray about it. And you will be moving forward in your life with the details safely stowed so that you can address your life and engage in your life in a more attentive, engaged fashion. All right, so that is kind of the middle intense years that I know many of you are in. But what about after that season? So things were wild and crazy, and then it's not really that it's less intense, but it's a totally different kind of intensity and busyness when your kids are either all teenagers or they're starting to leave the house, or maybe you are an empty nester. At this point, you've had a lot of management practice. Your management skills are high, but your life is super variable. Maybe when your kids were all younger, Mondays were pretty much the same and Tuesdays were pretty much the same, and you could set up routines that worked. And now every week is different. You get a phone call, you have just different appointments and different things and needs coming at you, and it's unpredictable. In seasons where your life is variable and full of curveballs, then you need your plan to be very freeform and loose. You want to be sure that you are not trying to micromanage a life that is not micromanageable, because then you will feel like a failure and you will waste your time using whatever planner you're using. The job of planning and using a planner is not to force your life into some kind of mold that it ought to fit into. It's just to manage the details so that your mind is more available to pay attention in the moment. So in those seasons, which may be at different points in time, these aren't necessarily sequential seasons. You can kind of move in and out of them. But you want a planner that is loose and freeform. You want to be able to capture what you need to capture. You want to be able to have some thoughts, some notes to yourself for the week, but you don't want it to be overly structured, overly planned out. You want some options so that you can use the little pockets of time available to you well, but you don't want to schedule things out or set routines on particular days. So this is where bullet journaling comes in handy, or just a weekly spread that has the days of the week across and then lines to give yourself lists for that week. It does not have to be fancy. In fact, the more simple, that probably the more effective it's going to be. And then sometimes you really just need to focus on the basics. Maybe that's when all your kids are small and you're still learning the ropes of homemaking. Or maybe now your kids are grown and gone and you haven't figured out what's next. You haven't quite filled your time yet, but yet the home management still takes time. And you have to learn some new skills. Maybe you have to take those chores back on because the kids have moved out. They're not doing it anymore. And it's a time to go back to basics, perhaps. Then your planner should help you do just that. Your planner should have the basics. Write out exactly what your morning and evening routine are and whether or not you're doing it every day of the week. Not that you have to do it at exactly the right time all week to succeed, or to count it as a win, but you want to track and see where you're actually at, because probably your perception of reality is not really aligned to what's happening. So keeping track of how often you really are doing your morning routine, your evening routine, the laundry, will help you see where you're at and what you should be working on next. So the back to basics season, again, might come when you have just babies and you're postpartum frequently, or there's not really a lot of appointments or other things, but you're getting your bearings, you're figuring out homemaking, and it's all new and different, and you're trying things out. Don't over-idealize your life and try to fill your time in idealistic ways. What you want is to use your planner to help you remember what's really important, what really matters. Not the ideal goals and aspirations and hobbies and various other things you might want to improve in. That's all fine and great, but what's going to make the biggest difference moving forward is putting in the practice of doing the basics. So write those basics down Maybe have them pre-printed on a planner sheet you make yourself, or keep it super simple and write it out for yourself every week, because the act of writing it out also helps it sink into your mind in a different way. So writing it out every week is also a good use of your time. And then just keep track of those basics. And then each postpartum season, you might need a time where you return to that basics list. And no matter how complicated or detailed your planner had become, you might go through a season where you need to return to the basics. Use the planner that fits your current circumstances. Don't just jump to what you think you ought to be doing. And again, that time to focus on the basics could return when you're empty nesting or just adjusting to a new house or a new town after a move. There are all kinds of transition times in life where we need to get back to the basics and practice the things that make the biggest difference and get back on the horse, get back on the bandwagon. It's okay for that to take time. It's okay for that to be the focus, no matter how many times you've done it before. And your planner, no matter what season you're in, and your planner's job, no matter what season you're in, is to put what matters right now in front of your face. Now remember that the point of iterating your planner is that you will stay engaged with your own real life. And that's exactly what we do inside Convivial Circle, with accountability, live chats, weekly seminars, and over a dozen courses and also masterclasses. Everything that you need to keep your head in the game and increase your skill and your capacity when it comes to home and life management is ready for you inside Convivial Circle. You can work through the 12-module course, Work Your Plan, which will give you not only the pieces that you need for your planner, but also the habits that you need to make that planner really work for you, and also the organizational structure in your life and your home that will help everything just fit together so that you can manage the details of life with calm clarity. Just go to convivialcircle.com to learn more about what we have for you inside our community. That's convivialcircle.com, where we always repent, rejoice, repeat.